Basketball Talk Pro. Well, I just want to briefly review what we talked about in the last segment, because I'm following through with that in this segment. In the last segment, I mental practiced a song I had never touched my saxophone to, never played it. I hardly knew the song, and mental practiced it until I learned it. By learning it, I now knew the notes, the words, and the timing, the rhythm. But I still had not touched it, my saxophone, to play it. Everything was done in my mind. At that point, I had the song learned after about 3 or 4 weeks. And then this was slow. This took some time mentally. At that point then, I went from that to doing 100 repetitions of the song completely in my mind. It took intense concentration. If I lost concentration at any time, I had to stop and start over again. So all of those 100 repetitions, I actually went through relatively perfect. And then I picked up the saxophone, played the song completely through with not error-free, but very few errors. I learned all of that, to do all those skills mentally without ever physically practicing it. The same thing you could do in learning how to back step off of a screen for a cut. You could learn that mentally before you even tried it physically, and you probably would do it perfectly. It's the power of understanding what the brain and the mind, and I use those terms in the same way, even though there is a difference between the brain and the mind. But it's easier just to use them as one, to keep it less complicated. Now I want to show you what actually is happening in your mind, in your brain, when you're learning and when you're becoming automatic, when you can do it instinctively without even thinking about it. So let me break you down to showing you a little bit, just a simple little bit, of the physical things that are going on in your mind. We'll go to that now. Okay, I don't want this to scare you and have you think it's a biology class. But I do believe that by knowing what is happening when you are teaching your players skills and how to go about it is very important to you. This is not going to be complicated because I don't know enough about it to make it complicated. It actually is a very simple execution that's going on, but it's very complicated in how it's done. But we don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about that it is being done. So let's just quickly take a look at this. This is a neuron, and it just shows you the body. There's nothing here you have to worry about. If you were a scientist, yes, then you might be more interested. But here's the guy down here that we're very interested in, because this is a motor neuron, and this is the neurons that the information from the muscle to the brain back to the brain muscle takes place. There are billions of these in your body, and they follow a pathway. So there's the element of a neural pathway That's the pathway the neurons go through. And your job or our job is the more that we can get these little buggers going quickly and directly to where we want them to go, the faster and more instinctive the skill gets. The execution of all of this is very simple. It's called repetition. The more that you make these neurons go up and down and where you want them to go, and your brain will take care of that. The more you do that, you make a larger and a more concrete pathway. That's when things become automatic. And so it's a cycle of these things going up the pathway over and over again that they begin to develop what we want them to be is automatic. The science of it, we don't need to know. It's very complicated. But these are so small, there's billions in your brain of these motor neurons, and they're going constantly, and they're going at great speeds. Well, you know now what's happening, and you know now why I keep saying the mind and the brain is what you're training. You're not training the muscles. The muscles can't do anything until the brain tells them what to do. So let's go on now. Well, there you see these small things called neurons having a pathway up and down going to your muscles, and that's what you're doing when you're playing basketball. All of that's going on at that time. Maybe this will help you clear it up just a little bit. This is an electric cord. We have them all over the house. If you could imagine this cord as being a neural pathway where neurons are going up and down and up and down. Now at one end, and I don't have it plugged in, but I would have it plugged in if I was going to use it. But until having it plugged in does not mean that the electricity is flowing through here. What it requires is, say you've got this attached to a lamp, is on the lamp you click a button, and then immediately, before you can even say think, the current goes shooting through and lights the light bulb. It's similar to what's happening in the neural pathways. But there is a difference. They call it a kind of a current when you're talking about the movement of the neurons. It does follow somewhat similar to this. It has a pathway. That's what this cord is, but it's not the electric part. The difference is this, and it's a very critical difference, is that those neurons you saw with all their little fingers going out, they go and touch or make contact with another neuron, and they do that right up and down their pathway. Okay? But they don't really touch. That's the amazing thing. And it's the thing that even the scientists can't quite grasp yet. They know it's happening. They don't know how it's happening. There's a tiny little gap called a synapse that this information jumps across. How they do it, we don't know. What are they transporting in those neurons? They're transporting messages. What their language is, we don't know. At least I don't know. But we think. It's like in a computer, kind of a yes or no. It has to be very quick. It has to be very fast. It has to be as fast, if not faster, than the electric plug, from going from the electric plug-in to the lamp when you snap it on. That's the kind of speed you're talking about. I hope that can help you, because I'm very serious about this. I really wish that when I was a young coach or medium coach or an old coach, that I had this information. It would have just opened up so many doors that I could not, my doors were closed. These is opening doors. So now when you're teaching skills to your players, remember, you are not teaching the muscles. You are teaching the brain. The brain then will do it for you. And it can get so it's done very accurately. The more times you push them up through that little pathway, the better they get. This gets expanded, and the better they get. The quicker they can do it, more accurately they can do it. The learner needs to see a mental picture of what you want him to do. Not a voice picture, but a mental picture. They need to see that. How do you do that? Well, demonstration is one. Doing it over and over again. They can't see what you can see from the outside, but inside that mind, they're developing a mental picture of what you want them to do. But now, remember, I did 100 repetitions, but to be good at that song, I got to do another 400 or 500 repetitions mentally. Then I'll be able to play it with a large degree of skill. Then you'll be able to do things you didn't know was possible to do. I wish I could tell you that again, but it would bore you. It's the story of that archer who could, in the dark, could hit the bullseye, and not only that, hit the arrow, the first arrow, and splinter it. And his remark was, it wasn't I that did that. It hit. It shot the arrow. You see, this is all in the mind that we're talking about these things. So, remember, if you remember nothing at all else, repetition is the key. And if you don't do it as a coach, you're stealing from your players, because they need it. And if you don't give it to them, and then you can't blame them when they're wrong. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Yes, it's boring, but yes, it takes concentration. It takes deep attention. That will give you the results you really want. They'll do magical things that they can't even think through. Okay, that's it for today. We'll move on to something else, but we need this basis, this foundation to build everything on. Thank you, and see you next time.